quiet a sec.
Hi, welcome to Life's Balance with Shaman M. Today we're going to discuss my new book, Going Toward the Natures, Going Toward the Health. But first we're going to do some discussion on my recent trip to Thailand. I spent a month in Thailand in silent retreats. And one of the reasons I did that is because I was accepted, as you know from previous shows, I was accepted in an advanced course in India in yoga. The advanced course runs into the higher levels of meditation, where the beginning and the teaching levels run into more of the asana work, the position work, or the practice. So I wanted to get a good feel for meditation. So I went into what they call the Suan Mok, which is an area in Thailand. There are two areas, and one was on an island in Koh Samui, and one was just off the mainland in the Suratani. So when I was there, I flew in, and one of the parts of Vipassana is what it's called, which is breath work, and it gets you out of your body. It gets you out of your senses. And what happens is that you breathe. And the more you breathe and the more you focus on your breath, the more your concentration leaves your body. And you focus on different aspects of your third eye that opens, your forehead, and you really start to allow communication without the spoken word. So what happens is that in the true Vipassana, they stick you in a cell. It's a cement cell. And you sleep on a stone bed. And you have a wooden pillow. And you have a little teeny tiny thin straw mat on that bed. And you have a mosquito net, and there are scorpions, and there are millipedes, and there are lots of little dangerous creatures around, and you just kind of deal with that. You bathe in a sarong, in a wash area with the rest of the women, and the women and the men are separated. And you get up at 4 a.m. and you are meditating at 4:30. I was privileged enough to be asked to teach the women yoga while I was there in the first retreat. So for 10 days, I actually got to do some speaking in the morning to do teaching, but it was very minimal. They did not want any kind of spoken language. And then you meditated, and then you ate, and then you meditated, and then you did your chores, and then you did walking meditation, and then you got to eat twice a day, and then you had an afternoon tea. You did close to 8 hours worth of meditation, sitting with your spine straight on a marble floor. Doing this and doing the breath work that they teach you, first thing that happens is that your body does not like what you're doing to it. It does not like to sit that long, and it starts to sabotage you. And it starts to sabotage you through your mind. Your mind may wander, but it does it so in an emotional way. So it's not little things that it wanders on, it's great big emotional issues. And after about 3 days, you either do or you do not make it. And we lost probably 12 people left in a 100 people group after 3 days. After everybody was settled and those who were going to stay stayed, it became a different, it became different. It became a matter of strength. It became a matter of education about the self, but about how much that the body really does have control over how we think, over how we behave, our emotions. And in our society, it's backwards. When you start to actually float into the other area and you leave the senses and you leave your body and you get into that space where it is beyond the euphoric space. You talk about people getting in their meditative space and they get into that euphoric space where everything feels wonderful. But there is a space beyond that where they call enlightenment, where they call clarity. And your whole head is open and your face goes numb and you don't feel your body at all. In that space, you know that your creation, and I do say it in a very, I use the word creation because it is what we do, but it's so limited. It's beyond the imagination. It's beyond anything that we could put in as the human perspective. We are all programmed with our preconceived notions, with our the way we were brought up, the society that we're in, the job that we have, the education that we choose, the relatives that we have, the friends that we have. All of this influences the energy that we take and use in our daily lives. But when that's all taken away from you, when you have just what you call you and what you really are, you start to come face to face with the self. So after I did the 10-day meditation, I stayed silent, went to the Koh Samui Island and went to a cabin on top of the island and stayed there for 7 days before I dropped down in the lower part of the island and again went into a silent retreat. So I ended up staying silent for close to 30 days. It was like 28, 29 days before I went into India. And in India is a whole different culture than Thailand. India is very spiritual, but India is very crowded. It is very crowded. But they've all learned to live together in such a way that you can walk down the street and see a really nice hotel, a really nice restaurant, you know, and right next to it, an empty lot that's turned into a dump. They have nowhere to put their garbage. There's so many of them. But they all try to keep everything clean. They all try to keep their bodies clean. They all try to, keep their homes clean. And even when the women work in the fields from dawn until dusk in the water up to their knees, they wear the most beautiful, vibrant colors. It is absolutely heart-wrenching to watch it because it is so beautiful. And they believe in so much life. They know what is above and beyond in the spiritual aspect of life. And they also know that if they follow that spiritual aspect and their quote-unquote duty in life, then no matter what happens, it will be positive in their lives. And they totally feel that way. When the doctors, because I wrote this with two of my friends, Dr. Ashutosh Yardi and his wife, Dr. Anagha Yardi. They're both Ayurvedic doctors. And they lecture all over the world. And when we decided to write this book, what we decided was that that culture has kept people from, you don't hear about any serious wars in India. It's usually their borders that they're trying to back away from. This culture is 5,000 years old. And they're not overweight. They're not in an emotional spot where, well, not all of them, I should say. They're not in an emotional place where drama occurs because of the spiritual aspect of the culture of Ayurveda. So the doctors said to me, why don't you write a book with us? And I said, okay, on what? And they said, well, we'll write on the Ayurveda, you write on the yoga, but we want your spiritual aspect, your view of the spiritual aspect. I would love to do that, I told them. Because my view of the spiritual aspect is not just how I view it. It's a quantum view. It's a view of science. It's not just a personal view, even though that's what we all do. We all have a personal view of our lives. When we get into the body types of the book, because that's where you start in this book, you start into the history and then you go into the body types. Now, I've done a lot of shows on the different body types. I've done a show on each of the body types. But again, it has been done in such a way that it's overwhelming to people. Ayurveda is a science. It can be very overwhelming. And a lot of people who teach it, like the doctors, are in a higher caste system, which they call the Brahma caste system. And that is for educated people. And they keep their places in India, where our society has the allowance, if you choose to educate yourself, no matter what your age or what your background or how much money you make, you can do so. And that's what we wanted to target with this book. We wanted to target everyone. It didn't matter. So we made it very basic. So we started with a body type, so you can find out your body type. There's a test in there, the one that I gave online. It's very simple. It starts out with that. But it also has your mind type in it, and how you learn, and how you perceive. And it goes into the different conditionings. When I talk about the different spiritual aspects of each chapter that it goes through, whether you're going through your body or your mind, how you're going to view it, and how you're going to view it for your body type, but how you're going to view it for the society that you've been raised in. You may have been raised in the middle class, you may have been raised in the lower class, you may have been raised in the upper class, but your body type still dictates how you learn, how you eat, how you perceive, how you educate yourself, how you retain, how you react. People who react like a pitta, if they react with harsh words, that's just a pitta. That's how they learn, but they're very, very quick at learning. Where a kapha may be really laid back, easygoing, not get upset about a stressful situation. But learning to them is difficult. It's challenging, but once they've got it, they've got it. They may have to read it over and over again. And then the vata is right about in the middle. Vata has a great retention for memory. Everybody falls into a certain body type like that. You have a certain energy that you carry, and your energy has been influenced by what you do, by how you live, by who you hang with. And if you have drama in your life, then your energy is changing. If you are educating yourself, and the more you educate yourself, if you have different people that are pulling against you, and you're arguing with them, and you can't seem to find a balance with them, it's because they're not on that same frequency. They are not rising with you. So automatically we try and pull each other down to our frequency. Once you allow yourself to know who you are and how you react to things, and know your body type, know what foods, what herbs, what kind of yoga influences you. You can help people step through your lives, like your family and your friends, so that the conflict is not caused. Relationships are huge this way. The doctors do relationship counseling per body type, so that they can let people know and understand the issues that they're going to have as they grow together, as they have children together, as they gain more money together. It's all a part of life that we don't always look at. The spiritual aspect of all of it is that if you keep things as positive as you can and do the best you can, you'll always get positive. Like attracts like. But if you worry and you fret, that's what you're going to get. Always worry and fret. So I decided that when I did this, I was going to put different yoga positions for different body types, which I did. And I was going to put pictures either of me or my teacher in here. And people looked at me and they said, "We don't want to take yoga from you. You'll kick our butt." And I went, "Well, that's not what it's about. And that's not what I used to look like, because I used to weigh 130 pounds more than I do now. It's an evolution." So I made little stick figures. So it was non-intimidating. It talks about your chakras in here and how to open them up. It talks about really, really basic yoga positions for the body type, so that you can start to feel your body. When you look at people who do yoga, there is a way that you warm up to do yoga. There's a way that you warm up to do the day. I start out the day with chanting. That's traditional. That was how I was taught. Well, most people look at chanting and they're going like, "Oh, that's a religious aspect. That's and it's not. It is to open up the chakras. It is to open up your energy for the day. It is to praise and gratitude for being alive and having a life that you truly love and get to enjoy throughout the day. And you get to create. We look around and we don't understand what somebody else is doing. You can't. You must understand that you have no idea how that person was raised, what influence they had. There is no way that you can wrap your mind around understanding. And they can only tell you so much. You will always see something in somebody else that they won't see. And they will see it in you. One of my favorite sayings was by a wise principal that I had. And he would say, "There's something in that person that I don't like in myself." Because that's what it does. It triggers something inside you that you need to work on. But again, you may not know why. So the whole aspect of it is to take the yoga, take the Ayurveda, start somewhere, and watch the influence that it has on your energy, on your environment. It doesn't take long. It doesn't take long at all before an influence comes in. And if you keep going in a positive way, no matter what happens, if you put positive energy into it, you're going to get positive energy out of it. Even if you feel that there's no resolution, there's always a compromise. There's always a compromise. And if that word has to come out, that word has to come out. So always say, there has to be a compromise. You may not see it the way I see it. I may not see it the way you see it, but we don't understand why. And that's fine. But go with that. Let that evolve. Let that be your joy. Yoga is a discipline of life. It is a discipline of self. It is a discipline of society. When the doctors describe yoga and Ayurveda, they describe it as two sides of the same coin. because there's influences in the physical, there's influences in the mental and the emotional and the spiritual. I want to read to you I'm going to just pick out one of the Introduction to Spirituality and Ayurvedic Herbs. This is something that's really short, and I really like doing the aspect of just allowing things to come through. So that's what I do when I write. So as you know, the energy you create in your practice in life is vital to the evolution in the goals you wish to attain. These set energies that you reinforce take a high mental focus to reach higher levels of consciousness through thought. You are raising your vibration to meet the vibration of the outcome you wish to achieve. Herbs can aid in this process, and you will experience the vibration of the balance you can attain in the now while you work toward the future day by day. Let go of any thoughts of supplementation being detrimental. These are herbs grown from our Mother Earth, and just serving the raw herbs with your meals are so beneficial to the body-mind. It allows you to taste the true form and energy just as soon as the herbs are picked. Try some simple herbs that grow in your region and notice how much it changes your energy in the body-mind connection. Again, things that you don't think about. When we eat raw food, when we pick it, the energy when we pick it is the best and most vital for the body. The longer duration, the more it is processed, the more that energy changes through the machines, through the people, through the cooking. If somebody that is preparing your food is having a bad day, that energy goes into your food. What part of that vitality is that going to be detrimental to you? You gain that. You gain that when you go through a long traffic line and everybody in their car is upset because it's back to clear up. You can start to feel that energy. If you are aware of your environment, that's what counts. That's where to start. When you become aware of your environment, then you become aware of who is in it, who is being drawn in it, and how you feel about it. Because we do get to feel. We are sensory beings. That's what we do. That's why we're here, as we get to experience that whole senses. When you meditate, telling the mind not to do that is telling the mind, you're killing me, and the mind freaks out. That's why it sabotages you during meditation. That's why a lot of people say, I can't meditate. My mind just goes monkey mind. It goes in all these places. Well, it's trying to save itself, of course. That's what it does. The breath, the breathing, the focus on the breath, the focus and the count on the breath, breathing down into the belly, up into the chest, feeling the breath, chasing the breath. That's what I learned in Thailand from Bodhisattva and Buddhadasa. Expanding your mind and your consciousness is an evolution. How you do it and what you do with it and in what way you do it, you already know how. You just have to take that step. I tell people every diet works. Every form of yoga works. Everything that anybody does to forward their being works. But will it work for you? You don't know unless you try it. Or you're drawn to it. If you're drawn to it, especially, then try it, because it may work for you. Know your body type.